Welcome back to the Taproom Exclusive. I'm Dean Zarbaugh. I'm here with Corey Miller at Hansa Brewery, and we have now moved on to the
Champ de Vesna.
And it's a barrel-aged,
It's a biere de garde. So it's
Okay.
so the name's a little misleading because Vesna is a Slovenian mythological person,
Okay.
if you will. It's someone who, like, this woman who lives up in the clouds, in a castle in the clouds, and she determines the fate of the crops for the upcoming
Okay.
year. So it's like a springtime thing. And biere de garde, being a French ale, so the two sort of mixed in with the name there. But yeah, this is the barrel-aged version of it. So it's been aged for quite a while, but it's 10.2% alcohol.
Oh, nice.
It's imperial version, really, because I wanted to make it a little bit more wine-like. And actually, during fermentation, I put these few different types of wood in it that were soaked in Bordeaux.
Oh,
and
wow.
I put it all in there, and it's very subtle, but it just adds all this complexity to the beer.
That's literally what I was about to say. Is it's a very complex tasting beer. There's a lot going on in it. Tell the people a little bit about. I'm getting some of the notes from the barrel. What else can people taste in this?
A little bit of vanilla to it, maybe a light smoky character, little sweetness, definitely some body to it. You get the alcohol is pretty low and smooth. It's not harsh or anything like that,
Right.
but it all mends together pretty well, and it's just a lot going on. You can almost get some like honey notes to it in the sweetness.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to put words to a lot of this because this is one of the first of this style I've had too. So I'm new to a lot of this and trying to learn a little bit. That's what's been fun about doing the show. Is it's been a very big learning experience to find out about beers that I never would have known about before. Because I was saying when I first started, that first craft beer I had, I couldn't tell you what an IBU was. You know what I mean? I had no idea what that
You
was.
gotta ask, and that's the only way to learn.
And so I was like, you know what? Let's just do a show about it, and I'll learn along the way. What a little bit about the history of the style and about what inspired you to kind of sit down and make this.
Well, it's somewhat like a saison in the sense that it's like a farmhouse beer, and it's typically brewed springtime, and you drink it throughout the course of the year when it's ready. It's definitely more like a northern France type thing, and I use French Strisel Spald in there, which is one of my favorite hops. It's an odd hop. It's low in alpha acid, so it doesn't add much bitterness.
Okay.
But it has this very like woodsy, almost minty character in it, and I use a lot of that in this beer. It's a fun hop to use and different. But I've been wanting to do a biere de garde for a long time, and it seemed like the right time to do it last spring. And I don't know many breweries in the area that are doing one, so I thought it'd be another fun thing to do and stand out a little bit.
Yeah, that's what you have to do these days. Especially here where you are. I mean, it's such a crowded marketplace.
Well, like you
and
said,
everybody's friendly.
Yeah,
But you do have to stand out.
yeah. I mean, with the passport, there's 30 breweries on there.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be just a number off that. So you want something that's going to stand out and make people want to come here and try all your beer.
Oh, absolutely. And across the board right now, I mean, everything you guys are making is fantastic. I mean,
Thank you.
This is some really good stuff, and a wide range too, because a lot of breweries might not do a huge range. They might just stick to what they can make very well and continue to make it still very well, and there's nothing wrong with that. Was sticking out the inspiration to actually do the wide range of styles that you guys do?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to only do IPAs.
Right.
Or New England IPAs,
Right.
which is, a big craze.
The thing.
Yeah. We did one, but it's not going to become our thing. I'm
Right.
trying to mix it up all the time, and it depends on the season as well. Like, just with this beer even, it's kind of a brewed spring for summerish beer. And now that fall and winter are coming, I have our out cold gluten-free coffee porter coming on tap.
Nice.
So that'll be next Thursday. We're going to release it with the Oktoberfest, actually. So that was very successful, and it's nice having a gluten-free option for people.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is there any extra challenges to making a gluten-free beer?
Yeah, there is.
Like what, and we'll go into that a little bit if you don't mind. Like,
yeah, that's fine.
What's the difference in the process in making a gluten-free beer versus quote-unquote regular beer?
So the grain's completely different. Barley, wheat, they have gluten in it. So I have to use different grains, and they're a little harder to work with and pretty sticky, and you want to almost grind them down to a flour. So it's tough to mash with, which, when I brewed this beer, I think it took me 14 hours to do. It was just a long day, just waiting on this mash and sparge to go through and everything. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to deviate from that. I want to make sure it's done properly and hit my numbers. And it came out really well, which I'm happy about. But, that's just one challenge. You have to make sure you aren't using liquid yeast, because that's grown with malt extract, and it has gluten in it. So you just have to be very picky on what you're doing and clean everything very carefully. So actually today we're sending it out for the lab analysis, but last year we did it. It was under 10 parts per million, which is like the most you could trace, really. So it's as low as can be. And on top of it, I add some Clarity Firm, which is the stuff that can reduce gluten. So when I was in Colorado last year, a lot of beers would say gluten reduced, sort of the asterisk behind. So you could tell they were using that. So people that might be somewhat sensitive to gluten could maybe drink that beer, because it's reduced from this compound, this enzyme. And so I think those two things, using no gluten, cleaning really well, and the Clarity Firm in conjunction, I think there's no room for gluten. Yeah. And we'll get the numbers back and everything before we even put it on tap, and just make sure everything's good to go.
Yeah, and again, another standout. I don't know off the top of my head many places that are doing gluten-free stuff right now. And I was talking to a buddy of mine, and this is a complete non sequitur, just an off topic, but a buddy of mine, I love to share the craft beer world with him. He chose to go sober a few years ago, and he drinks some he realized years later that he could still drink non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah.
And why don't you see a lot of craft breweries trying to tap into that market?
Into non-alcoholic beer?
Into non-alcoholic. Is it just not a market that is...
There's a lot of German breweries that do non-alcoholic versions of things, just because people, if they're out with their friends and want to have something to drink, maybe they like the taste of it, but don't want, or they're the designated driver or something like that, they want to drink that. I don't know. I've thought about it. I don't know if there's a market or not for it. We sell it in the import store, so someone's buying it.
Right.
But, and
that's where I found is my buddy's telling me most of the best non-alcoholics are coming from Germany, from Europe. And so
I don't drink much of them.
I've never had any either. And he's telling me it's funny because he's like the me of the non-alcoholic world. He's like, I'm getting notes of maple and like things like this, and I'm that's awesome, dude. Yeah. Cool. I was like, I would love for a craft brewery to kind of make something.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it makes
he can
sense
enjoy,
because
something local or something.
Yeah, I love the taste of beer. I hate being drunk, though.
Oh, I
so
do
it makes
too.
sense. Or having, that's why I do a lot of sessionable beers that are complex. So you could have it and not feel buzzed or anything like that.
Absolutely.
So it makes sense having non-alcohol beer, but I haven't tried many, and I don't know full on the process to make sure it's test low enough or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'll have to look into it. I'd be curious.
Like I said, it's just something weird that I've been thinking about because of my buddy, and it was just one of those things. I was like, well, I don't know of a single actual craft brewery that does something like that, and something new, something different. I don't know. But going back to the biere garde, what's some other stuff that you want to get out maybe about this that I don't know how to ask about because I don't know much about the style.
I mean, it's a little different for most beer de gardes. I also think you can't get a ton of fresh ones here in the States, so it's nice to have this version. I wouldn't say it's like 100% to style because I did it with my own little personality and tweaks to the style just to have it be fun to brew and stand out. It's a seasonal thing for us, and we have a decent amount of kegs of the barrel-aged version that I'm sort of sprinkling in whenever, just as a little treat. We had it like a Christmas in July type thing, but we ran out of that blueberry goza, so I'm like, I'll put this back on for a little bit. You know,
nice.
Let's see how it does, and it's been selling very well and very good feedback on it. It's probably one of my favorites on tap right now. It's just tasting very delicious.
It's very good. It's not my normal go-to style, but that's another thing that I've been using this show to help try to build is an appreciation for styles that I might not normally drink but are very good.
Definitely.
And there's, like we said at the beginning, there's a lot of complexity in this.
Yeah.
And I really like that in a beer. And that's what's keeping. I haven't been sipping on it very heavy because again, it's that 10.2%, something like that.
Yeah, 10.2.
Yeah, and so
does not taste that strong.
It doesn't, and like I got to keep that in mind so that I don't go a little too overboard because there's other stuff I do want to try from you guys. I have been sipping on the German Pils, or I'm sorry, the German IPA that you guys do, the BS IPA.
Yep. What do you think of it?
It's really good. It's different than, excuse me, I'm pulling away because I'm trying to drink it. It's different than IPAs that we're used to in this market.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. I'm trying, it's not super, it's hoppy, but without being like in your face.
Yeah.
And it's smooth, and it's got a nice bitterness to it, but without going, again, in your face. It's not this...
Do you think if you were not knowing, German hop varieties, would you compare it to American IPA, or can you tell there's a difference?
There's a slight difference, but again, I'm an amateur when it comes to this stuff, so what I say could totally be wrong.
Well, it's your opinion, so everyone's got their own palate.
That citrusiness in this, I compare that to like an American IPA. But I think there's people who come in and have told me, I don't like IPAs. I hate IPAs. I think I can give them this and they'd like IPAs. You know what I mean? I think they're convinced that every IPA is that in your face.
One of my favorite things to do with people that come in, if they don't like a style, I try and say, just try it.
Yeah.
Because you might, because I think our versions are somewhat different sometimes, and this one isn't like abrasive. It's hoppy, and you get all that hop character and flavor, but it's not. Yeah, it's a good beer for someone who thinks they don't like IPAs to maybe try, and we've turned people onto this beer.
Yeah, this is. I can sit back and drink a couple of these and be a-okay. This is a really good IPA. And what's the? Do you know off the top of your head the ABV?
It's 7 even.
Okay, I was gonna say 6 to 7 somewhere in there, but it doesn't feel like it. It drinks really easy, and it's a nice, good IPA. I mean,
thank you. It's kind of fun just being like German ingredients. You get, those hops. They're interesting. You get almost like strawberry and some melon characters.
Yeah. Until you said strawberry, I didn't taste it, and then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, that's what that is." I love when I hear something. I'm like, that's it, because I can't always put it into words. So German hops versus American hops. What's the basic? Not basic, but what's the kind of main differences?
Well, definitely, whatever grown in any region, it's going to be specific for that climate and the soil type there. So it's going to be automatically a little different where you're growing it. But these hops, I forget which, what the crossbreeds were for all of them, but they're bred just to have all that like fruitiness and some tropical notes to them, just because Germany's known for the noble German hops, which are more floral and not American basically,
right.
But they made these just to have something similar, because IPAs are just crazy in the world right now.
Absolutely.
Like everywhere in the world is mimicking this style now, which really started here in America. So I think that was their mentality, is to do these hops that are going to make IPAs over in Europe well.
Yeah, I think it's holding up pretty well according to my palate.
Good.
Was that just the inspiration behind it, just doing an IPA but doing it different than a lot of people are right now?
Yeah,
Same thing?
Yeah, because this is one of our year-round beers. I knew I needed an IPA. There's always going to be someone coming in, give me your IPA. We had to deliver.
Yeah.
So
my dad's like that. If he goes into a place, he always tries an IPA first, and then goes to something else. And it's like, there's so many other styles out there.
Yeah. I love IPAs, but I'm going to look at the whole beer list first, and it depends on the season too, with what I'm feeling. But there's some people, they're hopheads, and that's what they want to drink. That's fine. So hopefully this is what they want. It's satisfying, but different enough to help us stand out and just be our own, hold our own as Hansa.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that stands out a ton, and very good beer. And anything else you wanted to get out about the biere de garde or the IPA that I might have missed?
Not that I could think of.
All right, I want to make sure, because there's always usually something that I'm like listening back and editing, and I'm like, I forgot to ask this.
Don't worry, I'll wake up in the middle of the night too, and I'll be like, dang it. Yeah,
that's one of those things. But thank you all for joining us. Tune in next week for the Hansa Brewery grand finale. Have a good one, everybody.